Daniel Kamara.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the Regentonian.
Thank you.
So, you attended Sierra Leone Grammar School from the 2014-15 academic year to the 2019-2020 academic year. While you were there, you were a pupil of the Plymouth House. You were a member of the Benjamin Carson Reading Club, the Grammar Club, the Games Club in GSS, and you were also the president of the Scripture Union. So, did you see yourself getting into all of these things when you were in GSS 1? If someone would have told you that these are the engagements you would have as you go through the school, what would you have said?
No, I would say no. You enter to the Sierra Leone Grammar School, it's a blank slate, and as you move along, you just get drawn towards things that align with your interest, that piques your attention, and there's a lot of them. And just like you said, if I were in JSS, someone that asked me in JSS, are we involved in this much? I would have said no, because I had no idea. But the school helps you realize, it helps you figure yourself out as you spend your 6 years in the school. It helps you realize the things you're interested in, the things you want to get engaged in, and gives you the foundation for your entire lifetime period.
Interesting. And I'm sure being in and around such a number of things means that you're someone with many interests.
Yes, lots of interests. Yeah.
Okay, tell me a few of them.
Back in school, even before the Sierra Leone School, I've always had the interest in science. As I was younger, I don't know where I got the ideology from, but I've always wanted to be a doctor. My mom said the very first day I was asked what I wanted to be, I said a doctor. So I had at least moved along with that intention. But then as I went to the Sierra Leone Grammar School, it was defined. Properly, I just need to know which area of science I want to belong. And to develop more of my interest. So I found myself more interested in the biology aspect of science. I was very enthusiastic about biology because we were nice, the teachings were nice. And as time went on, I got interested in tech also. I found my interest in technology. And some amount for the literature. The casting got me to reading and into poetry. So even though I was in science stream, but we never found that was science people went into the literature aspect. It was encouraging. So all those interests were properly refined as I went through the school, helped to guide my career path as I'm heading forward now.
So Ben Carson, let's talk about that for a little bit, because you and I were actually club members at some point. So tell me about Ben Carson, because you actually took part in at least one play. Yes. Tell me about that play. What do you remember from it?
Ben Carson club was a very awesome experience. I'm not much of a fan of reading. I wasn't a fan of reading literature. But it's Ben Carson and the motivation, the companionship, the reading club managed to help me finish about 3 to 4 novels in my time in the school. And that was very surprising. I never finished the novel, an entire story. So it was interesting. And then the whole story of Ben Carson, play came, who Ben Carson was, and the impact he made in society, and how it was enough impact for him to have the whole club named after him. So I had a really minor role in the play. I can't even remember. But I remember very well how beautiful the story was, how well it was acted. The school had good actors, as I can say for sure. The Grammar Club was doing very well with that, so we had people who did well with that. So the play was executed well. And then the club was really generally nice. There was this teacher, Mr. Mascoy, I think.
Mascoy?
Yes. He was always behind us telling us to read, checking on us how far we have read with our novels, that sort of thing. And I like how the club gave us the opportunity to borrow books, take them home and read. And see, so that's an opportunity that we underestimate, because books are very valuable, they are treasures in the hands and all that. and then getting such opportunity to access them. It was really something we should have cherished more. Moving on throughout the years, I realized how valuable knowledge is in general. So I really appreciate the Casting Law for the impact they have in my life at Sierra Leone Grammar School.
And it's also showing in your current life now.
Yeah.
Because now you are not just reading novels, you're also doing deep research into your area of study. So tell me a little bit about your area of study and what shaped your decision into going into it.
So currently, I'm currently as of now, awaiting graduation. I'm completing all academic requirements to be a graduate of Bachelor in Science of Public Health
At the University of Makeni.
Majoring in laboratory and epidemiology.
Excuse me?
Majoring in laboratory science and minoring in epidemiology. Big terms, I know. So I chose this path because it lays a very strong foundation for the broad, bigger picture I'm going in for. As I mentioned earlier, I've always wanted to be a doctor. That dream is still very much alive, and to be particular, to be a cardiologist. For public health, when I did my research, I found that public health lays a very strong foundation for any health field. So making it my first go-to, starting my career path, I do not regret at all. So I have completed my coursework. I was awaiting graduation in March, and it has been a very great experience with the course so far. I hope to go forward in the next academic pursuit as I round up the academic year.
So you mentioned something very important, and it is an area often overlooked by pupils making a transition from secondary to tertiary, and that is doing research into the particular area of study you are supposed to go into or you would like to go into. And you mentioned that from the research you did, you found out that public health lays a good foundation for any field in medicine that anyone would like to go into. So, and I believe that that is one key thing that is missing, because nowadays people just rush into it, and also they follow the big names, law, medicine, engineering.
Navigating the way through the course.
Did you experience some of that? Did you see that happen while you were at UNIMAK?
Yeah. Not really. The only thing is universities stress, universities, what's this word? And turmoil. It is inevitable. One or the other, no matter how smart you are, no matter how opportune you are, no matter how rich you are, you're already or the other way to face university stress, whatever form or kind. But in the area of the academics of itself, understanding the course, doing well with my grades, and doing well with exams, that's I don't really have a challenge with. I can say that for sure. I've always managed to get top tier grades that are very satisfactory. And that is because, like I said earlier, it's a good foundation. It has this way, public health always starts from a small to broader perspective. Because public health is with health of the public, everyone, not just the individual. So it was a very good choice for me because of regret choosing that area for.
And you wrote your dissertation, and I had to consult my notes because off the top, I cannot bring myself off the top to say the name completely without stumbling in one or two places. So your dissertation was on the prevalence of hypercholesterolemia.
Yes,
that's correct, right? The prevalence of hypercholesterolemia. Oh my God. Let me tell that again. The prevalence of hypercholesterolemia and its association with cardiovascular risk among hypertensive. Oh my God. Say it for me, please.
So, the dissertation topic was titled "The Prevalence of Hypercholesterolemia and its Association with Cardiovascular Risk Among Hypertensive Patients."
at
Koido government was
Koido government. So that was the focus.
Yeah, that was the story.
Where the data was taken from.
Patients diagnosed with hypertension, that are attending or seeking care in that hospital setting. So there's also a reason how I came up with the topic, starting with the fact that NCDs have been sidelined in health interventions today. The government and
who have been sidelined?
NCDs,
NCDs,
non-communicable diseases.
Okay.
So most of government interventions and NGOs and programs are focused on infectious diseases, the HIVs, the TBs, the malarias, maternal and child health. We see lots of programs surrounding those things. But we see little programs surrounding hypertension, diabetes, strokes, heart attacks. These diseases that are slowly killing our elderly people, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, our parents. And talking to her, my mother has hypertension and she didn't make it. I've had an uncle died of stroke. Equivalents of these NCDs are very, very numerous. But because they are silent, they call them the silent killers. For example, a person with hypertension shows very little symptom. You don't realize it until it has gotten worse. If you're not regularly checking your blood pressure. The worst case is high cholesterol, which is the hypercholesterolemia. High cholesterol level has no symptom. You never know that you have high amounts of fat in your body until you develop stroke, or develop heart attack, develop myocardial infarction. You go to the hospital and you realize all this while fat has been sitting in your blood vessels, your veins and your arteries, and they have blocked the flow of blood, and that's part of your body. It's not functioning anymore. So it's a very troubling issue. Equivalence is so high, and it is called an epidemiological shift, while government interventions are more focused on these infectious diseases, because their symptoms are acute. We see them in front of our face. When someone has HIV, you start seeing symptoms instantly. So we tend to give it more attention. But the silent killers are there, silently killing the population. But I really don't want to defend my dissertation on my dreams, so I just try to sum it up. So, like I said, the topic in a nutshell is that how high cholesterol levels, high fat levels, fat is the second one, fatty food to eat, and how they cause fat. How fat levels, high fat levels can influence the chance of someone developing a heart disease. That's the topic in a nutshell. So how high fat levels can cause or lead to someone developing heart disease in a 10 years period, that's the cardiovascular risk. So there are a series of calculations, data analysis. It was a very tedious process. By the time when I've gone through it and then making arrangements for it to be published on the internet so everyone can access it. So when that happens, in fact, I'll communicate with you. I'm working on it being published, it can be referenced to other studies. And well, yeah, so it's a great experience, and the findings were also very, very interesting. I will share the book very soon.
And we hope to see it published as well.
Yeah.
So before I go to the next one, first of all, my sympathies on the loss and the challenge you're going through. And I'm sure this is something that a lot of Regentonians as well must be experiencing in their families or they themselves, the older Regentonians. Yeah. And they have these silent killers, they may not know they have them, or they may not be able to get them treated properly due to the lack of programs in the country or maybe the financial situation. What can they do in order to limit their risks?
So screening, prevention is always better than cure. And the whole idea of public health is that it is preventive medicine. Prevent the population from getting disease even before it happens. So the best recommendation is screening. Regularly check your blood pressure. And though it's very expensive to test fat levels, but try as much as possible, even if it's at least once a year, check your fat levels. Do a repeat profile test. It checks your total cholesterol, high density lipoprotein, low density lipoprotein, and triglycerides. Know those levels so you can understand your health status. As I said earlier, they are asymptomatic, they don't show symptoms.
So tell us what those means, the glycerides.
They make up what is called a lipid profile. Those four parameters comprehensively show the amount of fat levels in your body. Total cholesterol is additional to the other three. So in fact, in my own study, I just worked with total cholesterol. I have this concern. Total cholesterol tests were so little, the amount of tests that were conducted in 6 months was just 101. And the number of hypertensive patients with hypertension was 1,739.
That's less than 10%.
5.8%. Only 5.8% of hypertensive patients had their fat levels tested within that 6 months period. That was one of the findings of my study.
So it's a recommended.
Yeah, I did it. I placed a recommendation that it is let people do screening. That's mandatory. People should have their cholesterol levels checked. I understand that to do cholesterol checks is difficult. It's very technical. The machines are expensive. But when I did my research, I found out that there are simpler ways of doing it. Within minutes, you have gotten the result. It's a qualitative method, but it's effective. For low resource settings, hospitals that cannot afford the says, machines that test for fat.
Is this facility that you're talking about, is it available currently at other health
for
centers?
I was even lucky to have that, to see that they were doing total cholesterol test alone. So before parameters in the lipid profile, they only did total cholesterol. And that's the parameter I was forced to work with. My study was intentionally designed to work with all the 4 lipid levels, lipid profile parameters, all 4 of them. But when I went to the facility and I didn't have the time to change, to find a different facility, so I tried to work with one parameter I had. So it's actually very limited. Only few hospitals have the ability to do lipid tests. But as I mentioned earlier, let the government and the hospital facility shift towards this simpler system of testing for fat. They could call RDT, rapid diagnostic test.
RDT.
Rapid diagnostic test. They already have them for the infectious disease, HIVs, TBs, they have all these RDT. And when it comes to the NCDs, they are just oversighted. So it's my recommendation how to help the situation make it better. How to prevent people from dying so much of these NCDs.
That's pretty interesting. And it's something I believe that with more people working on it, with more grants, more funds going into that area, we'll have less. I believe, let me ask you, what are the mortality rates for Sierra Leone?
For Sierra Leone, I cannot remember the exact study that is quoted, but it said that over 20% of the population, of the adult population, had hypertension, had high blood pressure. And out of these 20 or so percent, 60% of them had high cholesterol levels. 60% of them had high fat. And then the thing about this, there is a synergistic effect. That means when you have high cholesterol level and you have hypertension, your chances of developing a heart disease multiplies. They work together to amplify the possibility of developing a disease. They are like borders of destruction. So it's very alarming to see that there's that high prevalence of hypertension, and that population also suffering with this asymptomatic high cholesterol levels. It's alarming. But we hope that things will get better in the future.
Because the first thing about bringing change is knowledge. So when the knowledge is available, it begins to shed light on the dark areas. And then definitely more light gets into that. But I want to focus on this because this is the Regentonian diary, and it's very important that we are putting the stories of Regentonians out there. One of the reasons I created this platform was that I was irritated that the reminiscences only happen once a year, and we have thousands of Regentonians all over the world. If, let's say, I believe from school I learned that the lifespan, the average life expectancy, of a male in Sierra Leone back then was about 44 years, give or take. So, assuming, which is impossible, but assuming you start carrying a reminiscence at the age of 1 and up to 44, I mean, you can't even exhaust 1 year, right? So, and also, the intention is not to compete also, but the intention is that more Regentonian stories need to be had. More people need to learn from what Regentonians go through, what they are going through, their outlook back in school, and how they have changed after school. Because for me, what I'm learning now, the difference, it was back then, it was, in bits and bounds, but now you are fully embracing that side of yourself and going into the research area, enhancing the qualities that Benjamin Carson Reading Club has embedded in you. And also while you were there, you met a Regentonian who helped you to be able to get access to the facilities to perform your study. You said you were going through some challenges.
Yes. And so it was a very interesting experience. So to get data for the dissertation topic, when you get to research, ethical considerations are very important. Ethical considerations, yes. Since I'm dealing with people's results, patients and humans, I have to be very careful how I treat their data. Ensure that I do not leak out data, ensure that their identities are kept confidential, all those things. So because the facility had to give me permission, I first of all attended ethical clearance of my university. That was the first step. So I went to the facility, and then to get access to that data was very difficult. Because when it comes to health data, it's very sensitive. Even though my study posed very minimal risk to the patients, because all I did was just use record data and interview any patient individually, personally, person. Regardless of that, I had difficulty in getting access for the data. So, to my own luck, the medical superintendent at the facility is a Regentonian. When I went to his office, I went there with my university ethical letter. I met him. We started discussing. He started asking questions, and then I saw him, a picture on the wall of him in his full ceremonial tie, hat, coat, and white shirt. And I said instantly, Dayoko. What's Dayoko? Dayoko. And he said, I pursue. I said, you're a Regentonian. He said, yes. And then the conversation just slipped into Regentonian topics. Was here, he said it was all the way back 2006. I was like, way back. So when I told him my own graduating as 2020, he laughed. Because
14 years difference.
Lots of years difference. So he made the process so easy for me. Instantly, he sent an email to all the parties related to my data within the hospital setting. He copied all of them in the email, said that I gave him permission, and all of them should give me access to whatever data I need within the hospital facility. He made it so easy. So and you can see that the school's influence goes with you every day. You just have to make sure you're doing the right thing in the right place at the right time. And then I'm also even supposed to report, give a feedback of my findings on the dissertation, my findings and the recommendations. He said he's waiting for that response. So I try to compile and send it, and then they hope to adopt these recommendations into their daily clinical activities.
And one of the things I picked up as well from the introductory part of our interview was that you also had an interest in tech going on. And then you mentioned before the interview how that played a great role in you doing your dissertation successfully on time and with less friction than normal.
Yes.
You attended a hackathon, a nationwide coordinated hackathon here on the premises we are in, the Christex Foundation at the Fuabi College. So tell me about that. What did you learn, and how were you able to apply it so that your dissertation went successfully? And tell me also about your journey in the hackathon and how it eventually came to an end.
Interesting. So I'll start with the very foundation of the Sierra Leone Grammar School, being part of the Games Club. As a tech enthusiast, my attention was captured by mobile devices, tablets, iPads, laptops, all of those things were bought into the Games Club. People play games alongside.
Hold on. I was never a member
at the Games Club.
Of the Games Club. You guys were using.
That was the one place.
You guys.
One place. You had the opportunity.
I mean, I'm this
to use your phone to play games. And then
so let me mention this for current generation Regentonians, because you may not be familiar with how strict the regulations were back then.
Against phones.
Okay, man. If even the compression is seen on the pockets of your shorts or trousers, forget about it.
Take care of
Till the end of the academic
there are
year.
instances when banks were searched for phones.
Yes.
Even if you hit them, they were searched. Your phone will be confiscated. And on a slight chance you are lucky you get them back at the end of the term of the academic year. On most occasions you don't get it back. You find another phone. So the games club was the escape. It was one place you had the chance. People came with tablets, iPads. It was interesting. You even forget about the games on your own phone. Start seeing other people's games, other people's activities. That was, and since by then, you know, the games clubs were limited to the JSS people. And being young and enthusiastic, those things really caught our attention back then. I got want to be in the science club. I wanted to be where I'm seeing fascinating things happen. So actually, that laid the foundation for my tech interest. Going for that, I kept on developing the interest and working on it. And I'm now finding myself going into coding and the likes. So to come back to your question regarding, first of all, I go with the hackathon, as you mentioned. I attended the hackathon event here, I think about a month back or so, and conducted the Christian Foundation FBC campus. I applied for this activity with very little knowledge on hackathon, but I just took the bold step to be part of it. And when I came for that bootcamp, I had an experience that I was never prepared for, I would say. I came to realize so much of how much the world is getting to a digital age and how we cannot afford to be left behind. How much artificial intelligence and digital knowledge can put you at the forefront of things, can put you ahead of your peers, can get you to heights that were not possible without the invention of these tools. And then they are there for our use. So I learned so much in that. I learned about coding, I learned about the use of how to properly use AI to optimize workflow. I learned about blockchain and lots of contemporary digital ideas that are running the systems of our world these days. So as obvious, I was very, very passionate about how I would adapt this knowledge into the medical field, because I'm in the medical field. The whole time I was in bootcamp, I was engaging in the hackathon. All of my ideas were channeled towards the medical field. I developed a few simple tools that will help into the clinical practices. And then even also the competition itself, the idea I worked on was a public health chatbot. A chatbot that will help reduce the amount of fake health news out there. There's lots of fake health news regarding treatment and things like that. So you come to the bot to ask it questions to give you verified information from the Ministry of Health and concerned partners. And then you can ask it any health problem, any health issue, you come to it to answer you. And then also there is, I'm using a little blockchain feature where your health messages are verified by code. So you can copy that code and paste in the verification and you can verify that this is your message is contained, this health message is contained.
I don't fully understand that.
So when the bot gives you a message, a health message, it gets coded with a code, simple pseudocode. You can copy that code. The website, the bot has a website that has a page, and that page, you paste the code, and then the code in the back end has a blockchain of codes. So if you cross-check if that code is in the blockchain, and if it is, that means that health information is correct, it's authentic. So just to help reduce the amount of fake health information going on. So let's say, for example, the Ministry of Health has published health information, you add that information to the database and we give them the code. You can copy that code. You could see news around Facebook, copy the news code, paste it in the verification area, confirm it if it's authentic news code. That was the whole idea. But it was just an MVP, a minimum value product. It didn't have the full functionality I hoped for it to have because I was still learning and I'm still learning the process. But that was the idea. And then going further, I applied also this digital knowledge I gained from that bootcamp into my very own dissertation. And to calculate the cardiovascular risk of all of the patients or all the participants in my study. Cardiovascular risk is the chances of someone developing heart disease within a 10 years period.
Yes.
Yeah. So you use variables such as the person's age, the person's gender, the person's blood pressure, the person's smoking status, the person's smoker or not, and the person's diabetic status. And then lastly, the person's cholesterol level, the fat level, which can be obtained from lab test. So when you put those 6 factors together, there is the calculation. I did not invent it, they've already invented the chart, we are just not using it in our daily practice.
So it's a global standard.
It's a gold standard thing. It's a gold standard thing. We have just been ignorant of its use all this while. They have 3 charts that exist in currently on calculating the risk. One uses cholesterol levels, the other doesn't even use cholesterol level. It's built for places that don't have access to doing the cholesterol test, limiting resource settings. So calculating the cardiovascular risk for each of these patients was a very tedious job because the way how the chart is designed, you have to follow every variable. It's difficult. So I had the idea, what if I can create an app that will calculate the risk for me instantly by just entering the patient's parameters. So I got into it, created the prompts, went through all the process using my vibe coding techniques I learned from the hackathon, and then I had the application. I ensured I tested it over and over to make sure that it's not giving me wrong results, because that would be very detrimental to the dissertation, and yet it was giving me the right results. So I used that app and calculated the risk of all 101 patients, and then used that data to analyze my dissertation. So the tech interest is going continuously. Every day I'm having ideas, I'm working on things, and then those things will hit the limelight very, very soon. So watch out.
We're definitely going to watch out.
Thank you.
We're definitely going to watch out. And you had a team, and unfortunately, when the list of the top 10 participants were posted on social media, your team did not make the number. What do you think was the main cause of that, and what can you learn from that?
Well, yeah.
I have a better question.
Okay.
What is one thing that one of the people in the top 10 along your line of development did that you think you can do or you can build upon, so that next time you also can make it into that top 10?
So the one honest thing I'll say is, I am not surprised that the results came out that way. Because honestly, we were very few in that competition who were not software engineers, website developers, C++ engineers, programming. People had all these cadres of software engineering knowledge. People from the coding, people from this college as well. And they were experts. These people knew how to code in different languages. We were just there learning from scratch like babies. We were just trying to catch up the information, catch up the knowledge as well. So it was a very good opportunity for me, I would say. I did not regret being part of it, even though my team did not make it to the top spots. It was a very great thing for me to learn, to be, to be given the energy to start the journey. So what I will say for sure is what I learned from those who made it to the top is that learn, continue learning. Go, put in the effort, put in the energy, learn things, learn what you're passionate about, be the best at whatever you do. Be the best. I have a perfectionist syndrome. I don't reach to the top height or something, I will never be satisfied. So I'm on the path. I'm on the path of it.
Okay. And that is a very important lesson, because even here at the university, it's constantly being drummed in our ears. To be the best is what will give you the highest advantage in any field. And also pupils in school, they are constantly bombarded with, you need to make it in life so you can make money and all of that. And I believe that is one thing that, even though it's what they go to school for, somehow gets clouded in their minds, and they constantly need these reminders. And so we're going to wrap up now. Okay, what are your final words?
Okay, so Sierra Leone Grammar School really set the foundation for me, I would say, for sure. Education is very important, very good. And the way to Sierra Leone Grammar School, they made that a very, very abject reality. Setting the foundations, like they plant a seed of competition inside of you. And that seed follows you to whatever aspect you go into your life. You want to be excellent in that thing. There's a way they set the competition for the classroom. Set it among the class and the students. And that spirit of competition, of excellence, follows you wherever you go. You want to be good at whatever you're doing. You want to excel. You want to be the best. You want to be perfect. So there's a way the school set that foundation. I appreciate that so much. It's a great school.
And one day, by God's grace, we'll rally around the future current pupils, just as how our old boys of our time rallied around us. So there we conclude today's interview with Daniel Kamara, a pupil of the class of 2020, about to graduate from the University of Makeni. He has done a very, very beautiful dissertation that should be read when it gets published by every health professional in the country. The venue we are at is where Daniel did his hackathon, where he learned all about vibe coding, all about automation, which he applied to his dissertation. We are at Christex Foundation now, and we want to give a very big thanks to the gentleman who made it possible, who gave some of his time so we can shoot this video. We appreciate you very much, and of course we appreciate Christex Foundation for always supporting the pupils. Mr. Lashite said when you come to college, that's when you stop being a pupil and you're a student. So we appreciate that Christex always supports students for things like this, and they're always pushing forward education in diverse ways. So viewers, that's it for today with Daniel Kamara, and we want to say thank you. Continue to stay.
Keep watching the Regentonian. Keep watching.